welcome to The Writer's Dream. This is a show where authors can talk about how they write their books, how they publish their books, and how they market their books. You can find us here at LTV. Just go on ltveh.org, click on the videos, and our show will come up, and you can see any of the shows there. We are also on Facebook. Just look for The Writer's Dream. If you wish to be on the show, you can message me through The Writer's Dream Facebook page. We are also on Cablevision, Channel 20, every place else except East Hampton. That's a different Cablevision. You can find us on YouTube as well. We're all over the place. Just look for my name, Linda Maria Friend. Today's show is a little bit different because I am interviewing an author who I have collaborated with to make a wonderful book called The Monster Bones of St. Frederick Island, which is number 3 of my Buccaneers series and number 4 of JoAnn's Troublesome Trio series. So welcome, JoAnn.
Thank you.
And tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I started out knowing I wanted to write because when I was a kid, I just loved to write. So then as I advanced my career from teacher to librarian, to public librarian, then children's librarian, I found myself back in a school after many, many years. And I was coming in as a new teacher when a fellow teacher was retiring. And I was going in, he was going out. But we decided we liked to write. And we collaborated and decided to write some short stories. And as a children's librarian, I was looking for a book on Groundhog Day. This is what started it. And there wasn't any. So I said, well, I'm going to write one. So I started writing this little story, and he said, let's write a children's book together. So we alternated. He took one story, I took the other. We wound up writing 2 collections of children's holiday stories. And then he was quite a bit older than I was. So when he passed away, I decided to just keep writing because I just loved writing. I wrote for magazines. I wrote a lot of articles for children's magazines while I was in the public library. And then one day, I was looking at some pictures I had taken on vacations, and one of them had to do with taking a little ride and a little walk on the Fire Island seashore. And the lighthouse was up for renovation, and there was a big sign there that said, "Danger, keep out." And for some reason, I thought about that. This would make a great place to have a story with kids go traipsing around where they're not supposed to. So anyway, I wrote my first book, and it was called Missing Treasure Means Trouble, and it was the start of 3 books I wrote using the same characters who became the Troublesome Trio, which I never really thought of that name until I started collaborating with Linda. But these kids go on vacation somewhere in Fire Island. Every summer, there's an adventure, they get into trouble. And then when I was done with that, I tend to like to write books where I've been there because I have a feel of the place and I can put in personal stuff. And because of that, I wrote a story about 2 kids, twins, and there's another one that's coming, who witness an art theft, and they have pictures on their camera of the person that they think stole the painting, and the police used them as witnesses. Then I did one on James Monroe's wife.
You're all over the place.
Well, I get these ideas, they just come up, you know.
I know.
The one about the museum, I was at that museum, and I saw that painting. And the children's biography, I belong to the Historical Society of Farmingdale. We had a guest speaker once who did a program on 9 famous ladies from New York, and one of them was Monroe's wife. And little anecdote about how she was very instrumental in saving the life of Lafayette's wife. And so I wrote a biography on her. And then, lo and behold, I met Linda, and she said, we should write a book together.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, well, what happened really was that we do book fairs. And we sell our books at either school book fairs or church book fairs or crafts fairs. And I'm looking at her 3 Fire Island books, and my first Annie Tillery takes place at Fire Island. And then during COVID, because I was bored, I guess, I got the idea to write the first Buccaneers book.
Oh.
And so I thought to myself, well, we sort of have a common theme here, the seashore, pirates, adventure. So I said, maybe we should get our kids together. But of course, there was a huge problem. And the huge problem was my kids. I wrote my book, it takes place in 1947. Why did I do that? Because I was actually looking through some stories that I had written for a course that I was taking. And it was called Those Catholic School Kids. And it was based on my memories of being in Catholic school in 1947. I'm kind of fascinated with the 1940s because they are so much simpler than these times. And I just remember some of the things we did, and it was just so much fun. So I started the Buccaneers series, and what happens with my books is the last chapter always ends up saying
There's another
something that has to do with another one coming along. So then I wrote Sibby's Secret, and at the end of the name of the book is The Buccaneers of St. Frederick Island, Sibby's Secret. And what happens at the end of that book is the children unearth a big, huge, enormous skeleton on the beach. And the last line of the book is, but what is it? So you can't say, but what is it, and then not write a book.
The book, yeah.
So then that's when we decided to get together.
That's what happened with my second book of the Troublesome Trio. I was only going to write the one. But at the end of, in that particular book, the first one, when the kids go into the lighthouse to look for Captain Kidd's treasure, which they think is there, they meet this old sea dog who's camping out there in the lantern room, and he tells them all these stories and everything. And when they come back down again, he doesn't want to be seen, so he kind of slips away. And I got messages on my website saying, what happened to Jake? What happened to Jake? And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to write another book. So that's what made me go into the second book.
Yes,
That's
that's exactly. But of course, we had a huge problem with this collaboration simply because JoAnn's kids are in the present and mine are in 1947. So how are we going to get them together? Well, first of all, JoAnn's kids go on vacation.
Yes.
So we decided that they were not going to go to Fire Island this year, they were going to go someplace else, and they went to Maine. And in Maine, they find out about this island called St. Frederick Island that has these really interesting caves, and they like caves, so they decide they're going to go there. Now, who's going to be left on St. Frederick Island? Certainly not these kids, okay? They've long since passed away. But their grandchildren are there, so that's how we got them together. We got them together with actually the grandchild of the original character who ran the newspaper, which was called the Foghorn.
And I picked Maine because I vacationed in Maine a lot with my kids and my husband, and several times, and I just knew a lot about Maine, the whale watching, the lobster pounds, and so on. So I did a little more research on what else is there now, and that's the way I got them, to go to that particular island.
Yeah, and the island is interesting, not only for the caves. The caves are owned. There's a Native American tribe that lives on the island. Actually, they own most of the island through a treaty with the United States government from back in the 1800s.
This is in the book.
Yes, and they own the caves. In fact, in a previous book, there was a problem with the fact that people were coming and declaring that they had no right to the caves, and so they had to fight that fight. But they own the caves, and the name of the tribe is the North Breeze Tribe. Understand that this is a book of fiction, okay? So names and places may not reflect what you know as
But it's believable
Native
because,
American.
excuse me, because the whole East Coast, excuse me, of the United States was, filled with Indian,
Well, if you go to the Native American Museum in downtown New York, which is part of the Smithsonian, they have copious information about the tribes that lived right here on Long Island and also on the East Coast. And of course, I came up with this island that had all the things that I wanted to have, caves and whatnot. But also on the island, was a Catholic school. And the Catholic school was in the original home of a pirate by the name of John Buckley. And so that adds a little adventure to the kids going to school in a pirate's castle.
So
and
was it
whatnot.
easy for you to create the setting for this because of the fact that you went to Catholic school, or was it because of the characters, or?
Yeah, it was basically, I was trying to capture what it was like to be in a Catholic school. If you read the first Buccaneers book, it starts out in the classroom and the various machinations that we Catholic school kids did to evade the wrath of the nuns, so to speak.
Well, it was very nice of you to make Sister JoAnn, named after me, a nice
She's the
person.
nice nun.
That was very nice of you.
Well, actually, what happens is the nuns and the priests on the island in the first book became the heroes at the end. They really do save the day, so I don't do anything terrible about the Catholic school. But that's where my characters came from. But then eventually what happens is they grow up, they get married. The Buccaneers was a group of 7 kids who formed this club called the Buccaneers, and they try to solve little mysteries on the island, like who stole the money they were raising to buy toys for homeless children. But they, of course, intermarry. They live on the island, and they have children, and the leader of the gang, whose name is Lily, her mother owns the newspaper, the Foghorn. And of course, the Foghorn is, for our story, the repository of all of the information about the island. And what happens in the book is they want to know, once the kids, your kids, once the Troublesome Trio find out that there is this mysterious skeleton on the island, they want to find out more and more and more about it. And so they have to, the skeleton happens to be on the property of the convent.
So your characters, your original Buccaneers, they're all different. They all have specific personality.
Oh, yes.
Did you see anybody from your past in those
Yeah,
roles?
the kids I went to school with, more or less. These were my friends. These were the kids that I sat with in class, and especially the boys were the really smart and technically savvy boys at that time. You know, they knew how to use a typewriter and a telephone. And the girls, of course, were, I think Lily is me. Because, it's a very strange story, is Lily, our illustrator, we have this wonderful illustrator who did the covers on the book, if the camera can kind of zoom in on them, or I can hold one up, okay? So she's done all of the illustrations, and in the original book, I said we had a Catholic school uniform, and she said, well, describe it for me. So I described the little jumper with the white blouse and the Peter Pan collar, and she sent me, what she thought Lily would look like. And Lily is this, she's blonde with pigtails and blue eyes, and I look at it, and I have a picture of me. Of course, every year they took a glass picture, and I said, oh my gosh, that's me. So then I became Lily, for whatever reason, anyway.
Usually characters, there's a reason why we put characters in the books the way that we do. In the Troublesome Trio, I never really thought much about it till I wrote the second book. But Douglas, the brother, and his best friend Wesley was my son's best friend. I didn't even think about, excuse me, the fact that Douglas was John, my son, but Wesley to me was Conrad, who lived across the road from us. He and my son were inseparable, and he was a smart kid because anytime my son and he had a disagreement, they never had a fight. Because Conrad would say, you know what, I gotta go home now, and then he'd zap back across the fence and all. That was Conrad.
That's funny. Yeah, well, that's what we draw from. As writers, we draw from our personal experiences, and also we draw from the things we read about, the things we're interested in. If you're a writer, you're a reader. And if you're an aspiring writer and you don't like to read, I don't know where you're going to go with that. Yeah, I don't think that works.
So your interest all through your career was science.
Yes.
So how did you decide to use what you know about science in your books?
My first series, the Annie Tillery books, are all Annie Tillery has an aunt who's a New York City police detective, and so she keeps bumping into cases. And so what I do in those books is there's always some topic in forensic science. For instance, I never talk about the Madonna ghost because it has a ghost, but I can't tell you the plot. You have to read the book. But the second one, Girl with Pencil Drawing, is all about art, which you should love because JoAnn is a talented artist as well as a talented writer. So there I use all of the expertise that I had on how forensic science is used to authenticate art pieces and to find and investigate art crimes. So, science is so much a part of our lives today and how crime is solved. So because I love mysteries.
And you did that art forgery. Linda does workshops, lectures at public libraries, and I went to a few of them. And particularly, I went to the one on art forgery. I've always been interested in art, even before I started painting, and which is the subject of the book that I want to finish up now, that has to do with when the Mona Lisa was stolen. I just found art history and art forgery and
it's fascinating
stuff
because,
is
first of all,
fascinating.
there's so much money involved in it, and there's always some subterfuge that's going on.
Right.
And the artists, certainly of the Renaissance and the periods of great art, there was a lot of politics involved. So yeah, and that's what I like to do in all my books is history, mystery, and science.
Yeah.
And I do that in the Buccaneers as well. The science is not as, the kids really try to use science, that's their whole thing, but the science is so much less sophisticated than it is now. So what would you say is the plot of The Monster Bones of St. Frederick Island? What happens in the book?
The plot is curiosity and determination, really. I would say the plot is a family on vacation happens to find themselves in a situation that's absolutely fascinating, and they're determined to use their curiosity and find out more about it because they're just very curious children. And the mother and father are very supportive of the children. I mean, they go along with it. The mother is a teacher. Father is in business and all, but they take these vacations every year together, just like, based on my own experience with my own kids. Being a teacher, we have the summers off and we would travel all over the country. And this family, they just want to make the most of this vacation, and they're fascinated.
And they find out that not only is this mysterious skeleton there, but they also find out that in the caves there are these ancient petroglyphs, cave drawings from the original North Breeze tribe, and they convince one of the elders of the tribe to let them visit the caves, and there we have a little incident of time travel, which kids love, and I do too. So that happens there, but they really are trying to figure out, and there's also legends from the island and the cave drawings of the fact that there were sea monsters of some sort. So they're thinking people are seeing sea monsters and we have this big skeleton. Are they connected? So that's, and I'm not going to tell you what happens, but that is the purpose of this. The whole vacation turns into a project of finding what's the relationship between this skeleton and anything else that lives. So who is your favorite character in the book?
I think my favorite character is the little girl.
Janet?
Janet was always my favorite character, even in the Missing Treasure books, because she just is she's a very daring young girl, and she'll go off on her own.
How old is she?
Well, so in the first book.
No, how is she in this book?
In this book, she's got to be, I think, 10. She's got to be about 10.
10 or 11, yeah.
She's about 10, because she started out like 7 or 8.
Yeah, she's a little girl.
She's about 10. But she's curious, she's spunky, and she loves hanging around with her brother and his friend.
And she's in competition with them all the time.
Yeah.
So.
And in one of the books, she said that she loves when Conrad's around because, he treats me better than you do,
Yes.
she says
yes.
to her brother.
I think she's my favorite character
Yeah,
in the
I
book,
like
too. I liked her very much.
And there's a scene in, when they're going up to Maine, it's a long car ride. And I remember, I based that car ride on one of the trips that we took where my son and daughter were sitting in the back seat of the car. And, the sun travels, and the sun was on the side of the car where my daughter was sitting, and she was complaining. So my son said, "Oh, don't worry. In about an hour or two, I'll switch sides with you." And then they switched sides, and of course, the sun
So
was
did
on
the
the other
sun.
side then. She couldn't figure it out why.
Nice guy.
And Conrad came to the rescue.
So let's get to the I think what is the interesting part of this story for us is, what was it like to work together? And are we still friends?
We're still friends. We're still friends. And we learned a lot about each other.
Yeah.
Well, the first time I collaborated, it was a different situation because we wrote our own stories and then just put them together. Anybody could have written them. But this, Linda provided an outline. I think it was her idea in the first place. And she provided an outline because she was working with the Buccaneers. And so she had a starting point. I didn't have a starting point. So when
We
I
gave
saw
you one.
Huh?
We gave you one, though.
Yes, I know. So it wasn't that difficult. I mean, I had to get my kids to the island. I had to get the family to the island. And I did that in the beginning chapters. And Linda did the prologue, which made the reader know that what was coming ahead. So I was able to do that. And then as we progressed into the story, I found ways to, put my kids of the family into each phase of the story. So, I don't know, once we got started, it wasn't that difficult.
Yeah, I wrote a chapter and then you would read
Yeah.
it to see if it was copacetic, and then you would do the
Right,
same thing.
right.
And eventually we had the story written.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think
Once we
I
got-
think it really works.
Once we got started, it wasn't bad. Once we got them all on the island, and they met the Lily, it kind of took off from there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's a very exciting book, and I hope that we've said enough about it that will encourage people to read it. I found it easier. I found the whole process easier than I thought it would be. I thought there would be more wrangling about, well, we should say it this way, but that never happened. The next problem that we encountered really is publishing, and we self-publish. Self-publishing is a lot of work. My suggestion to anybody who's writing a book is try to find a publisher. Either self-publish by using a company, because they do a lot of the things that we had to do, or look for small press, or if you have a lot of patience and you're very young, send out to traditional publishers.
They're all small presses.
Lots.
The
Yeah,
holiday
lots.
books were printed by a small press.
Yes, and
Not many of them.
so we did publish. We published on KDP. That's done, but then you have to find a distributor. It's important to have a distributor. I've had this conversation on the show before, because the distributor is the place where bookstores and libraries get your book if they're interested. And then, of course, the next thing is the ongoing process of marketing, which goes on forever. And why don't you say a few words about LICWI, Long Island Children's Writers and
It is the
Illustrators?
Long Island Children's and Illustrators, Children's Writers and Illustrators. It's been around for about 30 some odd years. I know, because I've been a member a long time. And it has a twofold purpose. One is to encourage authors to write, and we critique manuscripts from new authors, and we try to find ways to help them to get published. And the other part of it is the Author Illustrator Nights, where a committee works to get schools along the island to hold these evenings where the parents come back to school with their kids, and the school gives the author, they invite the authors with a personal invitation. They give us a table, and it's usually in a cafeteria or someplace like that. And we
We can sell our
put our
books.
books out. We
Yeah.
talk to the, sometimes we do workshops.
Mhm.
And then we come back to the tables and we sell our books. And we do that throughout the year. And we have some schools that invite us back every year. Other schools we pick up here and there. And it's been good.
It's
It
been a
has good.
successful program.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
and
has.
I think that's our major way. I mean, we are on Amazon, we are on various
Yeah, but our books are for
websites.
children, so what better way to
Mhm.
sell them
Sure,
than at a place where there are children?
absolutely. And we also do crafts fairs and church fairs.
And also, there are new bookstores opening up.
Exactly. Indie bookstores, for some odd reason, are really taking
Yeah.
off on Long Island, and
Right.
we have our books there, we do programs there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's always good to feature. Sometimes we're lucky enough to have somebody have us on their show. We're going to be on the author show very soon, and marketing is an ongoing thing. I mean, we have to post on Facebook constantly, Instagram, there's a new one, Book Talk. Uh, we also enter our books in contests. Um, So that's, that is what we do. And also, another thing, make an audiobook if you're self-publishing a book, or even if you have a traditional publisher, make an audiobook because they really sell. So that's our story. We did
We hope-
collaborate, it is
We
possible.
hope the children like our books, and we've been very successful, we have, and we've been very lucky because the schools are very receptive, and kids like to read.
Yeah,
So you provide some good books for them, and they're going to read.
absolutely, absolutely. And you'll be finding us soon on YouTube. You'll find this interview on YouTube. And hopefully you'll come to the bookstores and find us there as well. JoAnn, what's your website?
My website is jvkarts.com.
jvkarts.com. And mine is lindamariafrank.com, and you will find the books there. And some interesting stuff about us. You'll also find JoAnn's artwork there, which is impressive.
Yeah, my website has my art work and my books.
So this has been a great interview. I like talking to you, JoAnn.
I'm glad, Linda. That's nice to know.
Yes, and we had a lot of fun doing this. I strongly suggest collaboration.
Yeah, now we did have a lot of fun together.
Okay, so
And who knows?
thanks again.
Who knows what's next?
That's right, what's next?
Thank you.